Oh no. I fell asleep again while knitting my slightly oversized scarf in my rainbow Crocs in my lazy boy recliner with my off-brand Snuggie. Getting old sucks. But not for Elminster. Old men sleep a lot. Did you get the joke? I'm back. It's been a while, and I appreciate the constant support as I've been gone, which I have noticed daily. I don't have a lot of time usually, because I'm hitting a lot of exams as of late, but I do greatly appreciate everybody who's been sticking around. I'm gonna try and get back more videos, but this one is a doozy, because I built a deck that I finally think proves that I'm okay. I've been able to test it, and now I know that it's absolutely a powerhouse of a deck that you guys can build as well. Normally my play style ends up being more of like tokens, so this has tokens. But one thing that you can count on is Elminster being the man for you. Elminster, for 3 blue white, you'll get a legendary planeswalker. Elminster, for 5 loyalty, that gives you, whenever you scry, the next instant or sorcery spell you cast costs X less to cast, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. You don't have to do it only once, as long as you don't cast an instant or sorcery spell, any permanents you activate that scry, or anything you do in your upkeep to scry really helps you out, but that next instant or sorcery will cost that much less. So if you activate his ability for +2, you can draw a card and scry 2. So you draw whatever's on top, and then you get to look at the top 2, put them back in any order. Or you can put them on bottom, whatever. And then -3. Exile the top card of your library, create a number of 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature tokens with flying equal to the current mana cost. So this deck is a huge powerhouse when it comes to token strategies. This commander can be your commander, first off. It does say that down there. So since Elminster can be your commander, let's go and see what he does for us, because we are selfish. The first thing we want to get out of the way is the obvious thing. It's, well, how are we going to get those tokens? Because those are the ones that are going to win us the game. So let's get into our game-winning strategy of big things that don't cost a lot because we don't have a lot of money. Most of the things we're going to get are going to be our little instants and sorceries that we can get reduced by Elminster's ability, meaning we have some way of getting these things to cost a lot less, so maybe we could actually cast them. Like Scour from Existence. Scour from Existence is a 7 mana instant that says exile target permanent. You're paying a lot of mana, but you're exiling a permanent, which is pretty good. All we have to do is scry maybe 3-4 times, and we have a 3-drop, 4-drop, depending, 3-drop instant that exiles a permanent. Or we can just exile it from the top, get 7 flyers. And 7 individual flyers is better than 1 big 7/7, because that's pseudo trample and kill spells can't get rid of all 7 power. You could also get the double sting, the 2-stacker. I don't know. The Aftermath card, Dusk and Dawn. Or as they want you to say it, Dusk to Dawn. Dusk is a 2 and 2 white sorcery that says destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. That's really good on its own right. It's a good board wipe, and since your dragons are 1/1s, really good for your board. Dawn has you return each creature with CMC. Was it CMC? My bad. Wait. Dawn has you return all creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It does that for 3 white. It won't necessarily help us because we don't have a lot of creatures in this deck. We mostly have a lot of non-creatures, and if the creatures are there, their power is definitely not 2 or less. But with this card, it combines those 2 mana values. So 2 white for 4 and 3 white for 5, meaning you got a grand total of 9 CMC. Or mana value, if you're pedantic about it. I'm an old Magic player. We all know what CMC means. Don't at me, I'm gonna say it interchangeably throughout this video. Likely, more often than not, it's gonna be CMC. Or we can get cards like Treasure Cruise. It's so good it's banned in a few formats, and I still don't know why. But it's 7 and a blue for sorcery, right? Yeah, it's a sorcery. Wait. Yeah, it's a sorcery. 7 and a blue for a sorcery that has Delve. You can exile any number of cards from your graveyard that can pay for a generic of this cost. So at minimum, you can pay a blue. Otherwise, it's 8 mana, but it draws you 3 cards. And it's also a great cost to have on top of your library to exile instead, because then you're getting 8 1/1 flyers, if you can do it. But I believe in you, so you can do it. Next we got Icebreaker Kraken. For 10 blue, you get an 8/8 snow creature Kraken. With this spell costs 1 less to cast for each snow land you control, and then it can also make target player not have their artifacts or creatures untapped during their next untap phase, and it can also get returned back to your hand if you return 3 snow lands to your hand. Pretty good, and I'm not saying that's bad, except we don't run snow lands. That's pretty bad. If you want to run snowlands to have that little side synergy, you can, but for the most part, anything that costs more than 10 mana, or even 10 mana in this thing, we ain't gonna try and cast, especially if it's a creature. He doesn't get reduced by Elminster's ability. So we want him on the top of the library at all costs. Sometimes he'll end up in your hand. If he's in your hand, there are some ways to get him back up there, or if it's that late of a game and you really just have no other need for it than to cast it, go for it. Now I hear what you're saying. Cody, what if I don't know what's on top of my library? Say I drew 3 cards before the start of my next turn and gosh darn it, now I have no idea what's on top of there. Well, you can also have things like Lens of Clarity in here. Lens of Clarity is a 1-drop artifact that I want to run in every single deck, but except it doesn't need to be in every deck. It's just funny because nobody runs Morph except for this Morph deck that I'm building, but it's not even fully Morph. But the biggest part about Lens of Clarity is it allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time. That alone is enough for us to run this in this deck, because knowing what's up there will allow us to know which of the 2 abilities we want to do, because Elminster might go away. That doesn't matter to us, because usually it happens every other turn, and if people are killing it, we just want to know what's on top, so when we cast him, we can ult him and get whatever we need when we need it. So if it ends up being that we need to have that +2 the moment he comes in, well, knowing that the top is a land, obviously we're going to want a +2. But if we look at the top card and it's Aladdin's Lamp, that's 10 fairies, dragons, it's 10 blue things. And we can get all of those now. And getting him out and putting him down to 2 is probably the most baller thing you can do in this deck, because he wants to get low. Wizards of Baldur's Gate, get low! Or we can get Verge Rangers for 2 and a white. Oh, who would have thunk it? What is this? It's a 3/3 creature, scout, human, ranger, right? For 2 and a white, you get a creature, human, scout, ranger. With first strike, that's a 3/3 that allows you to look at the top card of your library at any time. Anytime. People having tea time, that's when you can look at it. And then if somebody has more lands than you, you can play lands from the top of your library. Obviously, you have to do it on your turn, and that is your land for turn, but you can do it, which can help you immensely. That's gonna actually get you a good -3. Because Elminster's true godsend is that -3. His +2, pretty cool, and it can help you reduce the next spell by 2. Some of those spells are actually kind of epic. You can also cast Invincible Hymn for 6 white. It is a sorcery that lets you count the number of cards you have left in your library, and your life total becomes that number. That's really good in Commander, but it costs a lot. And so a lot of times you're not even gonna get close to being able to cast it, and it is a good 8 CMC spell to take off the top. But I mean, if you scry 1 and then scry 2, it's 3 white to get like 80 life. So do it. It's really funny. It's a lot easier than you think to get at least 3 scries off before you cast your first instant or sorcery. Or you can cast, I know this one by heart, or you can cast Stormherd. For 8 white, you get a sorcery with create a number of Pegasuses equal to the number of life you have. That's X of them, and they all have flying too. So it would probably read, create X 1/1 Pegasus creature tokens with flying, where X is your life total. That's a Stormherd, and that's crazy. Every time I played this deck, it's been less than 10 life, which is funny, but I cannot control the rate at which my life is die. We also have the fun, lovely other thing we can do. It's probably some of the most impactful things we can do within this game. So let's start the red carpet of cards that we have in this deck. Oath of Teferi. Oath of Teferi for 3 white-blue. If you've ever played against a Super Friends deck, you know how debilitating this can be against you. First thing it does is it flickers something, but it's a slow flicker. So it goes back at the beginning of the next end step, which means it's kind of gone for the turn. His secondary ability says you may activate loyalty abilities of planeswalkers you control twice each turn instead of only once. If I can get this out alone, you +2, -3, which essentially just means -1, draw a card, scry 2, get this many dragons, and then you immediately have a bunch of flyers. Your next instant or sorcery at minimum costs 2 less. This card is busted. Followed by Elspeth's Talent. For 2 white, you enchant a Planeswalker. It's an aura. This aura gives our Planeswalker Elspeth's famous +1 ability, which allows you to give a loyalty to get 3/1/1 soldiers. That's pretty okay. I don't really see a use for that. The second part is where it's extremely useful. This enchantment static ability allows us to give all of our creatures +2/+2 and vigilance. +2/+2 and vigilance. That's a free attack with a bunch of flying 3/3s. That's just good. This Goober didn't say it, so I'm gonna have to. This ability only happens till end of turn. So it's +2/+2 and vigilance until end of turn. I'm sorry, I'm not him. I'm a better me. We really want that. You will become the threat immediately. And this is when you activate any of the loyalty abilities. -3, create a bunch of 1/1s for blocking, swing in the rest. It cannot get any better than that. Or you get Teferi's Talent. Yeah, he's not gone. For 3 blue, you get an enchantment aura that says enchant Planeswalker, so goes on Mr. Elminster. Then you get a -12, an ultimate that'll give you an emblem that says you may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control on any player's turn, anytime you can cast an instant. You can do it before your draw. So like before you go to your draw step, you do this. And so if you know what's on top of your library and you really don't want it in your hand, -3. If you have the Oath of Teferi out, you can then do that again, depending on what the next card to draw is. That's gonna allow you to do this on everybody's turn. That's 4 activations a turn cycle. I mean, even if you're just top decking and getting everything off of the top, you can activate his ability to scry 2 for free to cast an instant on somebody else's turn reduced by 2 because his ability doesn't care when you scryed, it just cares that you scryed. Not even to mention his static ability on this thing. The static ability alone is whenever you draw a card, put a loyalty counter on Enchanted Planeswalker. If you can draw, if somebody lets you draw, if you get any of the things in your library that allow you to draw and you hard cast something that gives you 7 cards, that's 7 loyalty. Once you get this emblem, you are in free control of whatever you want to do to your board, to your top deck, to anything. It's crazy good. And then to wrap it all up, let's just get back into the normal case of like how we're going to get things on top of our library and how we're going to keep it there. So we have things like Index. For just a blue, it's a sorcery that allows us to look at the top 5 cards of our library and put them back in any order. It is not scrying because we can't put them at the bottom, plus it just doesn't say scry. It is just look at the top 5, have fun with it, and then put them back. And you now know what the next 5 cards are going to be. But also you can't really change those 5 cards, you just kind of have them now. Or you can do Brainstone. It's a 1-drop artifact that you can pay 2 tap and sacrifice it to draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand back on top of your library in any order. What this does for us is what Brainstorm does as well, but Brainstorm was outside of my price range at the time. Now that I'm not really strictly adhering to 50 cents or less, I just need it to be budget. Draws you 3, takes 2 from hand, back on top. So those creatures, if you're really stuck with them, put them on top. But other than that, that's really it. Before we all take our own old man naps in the chairs in front of a green screen. Weird. So before we all head out, I do want to thank you very much. It has been crazy seeing that I have just not been doing stuff on my channel and somehow things have stayed semi-alive. And that's crazy good, and I really appreciate everybody who stayed. I even gained subscribers by not doing anything. I do greatly appreciate the fact that you guys have decided to stick around and subscribe. It means more to me than you could possibly know. And if you want to do it now and you're brand new to this channel, if you made it this far, go for it. But otherwise, I have a totally serious video right here that I totally didn't do anything weird in, and you should probably see it if you haven't already, because it's super easy to watch and not at all disgusting at all. It's pretty bad. Thank you so much. I can't say exactly how happy I am. I'll see you guys in the next one, hopefully soon.